Welcome, everybody. My name is Lauren Jasinski. I am the chair of the Greater Royal Oak Democratic Club. I'm so excited to see all of you and thrilled to have you on this sunny but cold March morning. We've got a lot of great stuff for you this meeting. We have wonderful speakers from an organization called Vote 16 Michigan. Arv, Rachel, Ian, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then Ian, go ahead and do the treasurer's report. Okay, so Arv.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm the club vice chair. Thanks for joining in. If anyone is new and has any questions, I'll be posting my email and phone number in the chat.
Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the secretary of the club, and well, good morning. As Lauren said, it's beautiful but cold Saturday morning. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ian. Just as a heads up, I think a couple people are still maybe joining because I was having trouble with the link. So Tom posted an updated link, but it looks like we have more people kicking on. But anyway, I'm the treasurer for the club. And so I'll go ahead and give our treasurer's report. Our current account balance in our checking, which is what we use for our normal club operations, is $3,813.35. We have a balance in our savings, which is where I'm keeping the funds for the Tom Regan Youth Activist, etc. scholarship, is at $879.47. And Tom has generously offered, I'm going to leave it there because I almost misspoke. I apologize there. Very exciting news. We have a P.O. box. So that ran us $118 for 13 months. So that was our only expense for the month. And so I'm going to provide the new P.O. box address in the chat. So if anybody wants to mail anything to us, I know Lauren will eventually be updating things. I literally got the keys yesterday, but I'm very excited to have an official address that can be used regardless of who is in our board leadership. Any questions about our accounts? Sorry, I know that was a little frazzled.
Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, we're excited to kind of have a permanent home for that, so we don't have to keep giving out your apartment address. I'm going to just turn the floor over to Sky and Krishna. They are high school students, actually, who are joining us to be this morning's guest speakers. They are the founders of Vote 16 Michigan, which is an organization that is working to extend voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds in local elections. We are thrilled to have them. And Sky, take it away.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Lauren graciously mentioned, my name is Sky Ueki. I'm a sophomore at Novi High School. I'm 16 years old. Before we start, could we have screen sharing privileges? Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm also joined by my co-founder at Vote 16, Krisha Ramani.
Hi guys, my name's Krisha. I'm also a sophomore at Novi High School, and Sky and I go to the same high school. We've known each other for quite a while now. I think 7th grade is when we met first, and we decided to start this organization, I think September.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story how we started this. It was my 16th birthday, and I was looking up different things I could legally do when I turned 16. I came across this article that talked about different countries where 16-year-olds can vote already. And at first I looked at it and I was like, that's crazy. There's no way myself and my cohorts are mature enough to vote. But the more I looked into it and the more research I did, the more it became evident that lowering the voting age in local elections to the age of 16 will create a more healthy and vigorous democracy for the future.
Yeah, and I just touched on this, but our mission is to extend voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds in those nonpartisan school board and municipal elections. So for cities and villages.
So to talk about that research that we did and came to that conclusion, why give 16-year-olds the right to vote, right? That's the major question on all of our minds right now. And we kind of break down into three main points of why we should lower the voting age to 16. The first one being that we need to make voting a habit. Voting turnout rates for local elections in even major cities in Michigan is as low as 10%. Mostly they hover around 20 to 30%, but it's actually really, really low. And that's kind of concerning for democracy in general. 18 isn't a great time to start the habit of voting. It's a transitional phase in people's lives. They're moving to new colleges, they're moving to new cities. They're just starting a new phase in their life. It's not a great time to pick up a new habit. And that's why we want to lower the voting age to 16. Allowing it to be 16 in local elections will give the chance to start voting, go to the ballot box within the first 4 years of high school. You have at least one election cycle within that time, and you will start that habit of voting, which research has shown is a habitual thing to do, and that voting in your first election will increase the chances of voting in the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and so on.
Yeah, we kind of like to talk about it like getting your training wheels on your bike before you go out and like actually ride your bike, right? You just need to build that habit. You need to learn how to vote. You need to learn how to make that plan before you go out and vote at 18 in your federal elections. And creating that habit at 16 is going to make our democracy and more engaged, and it's going to increase our civic participation.
Right. And the second point that we usually talk about is that we're affected mostly by local politics. That's one of the closest things to us. Transportation, schools, other stuff like that, parks, they're all on the local level mostly. So that's why we want to start with the local level, like Krisha said, training wheels, and it's what affects 16-year-olds the most and the most directly. So that's why we want to start there. Yeah. And finally, we want to strengthen civic education. That's our third main point. Students learn best when the material that they learn in classrooms are then applied to their daily lives. Teachers have told us, academic studies have told us that. And our goal is that combined with the civic education, lowering the voting age to 16 will truly create habitual and informed voters for a lifetime. And that's why we want to put this push on civic education, as well as lowering the voting age to 16.
And at the end of the day, like Sky talked about, all of this culminates in increasing civic engagement. Extending voting rights at 16 in those local elections, those small elections where the decisions people make and politicians make on a daily basis are so critical to daily life, is the best way to go. But let's talk about where 16-year-olds can already vote. This isn't a completely novel idea to the United States. There are 6 other cities in the US that have implemented voting on the local level. And based on data accumulated over the last few years in these cities, we saw turnout rates increase, we saw youth voter outreach increase, and we saw the youth voice empowered through increased civic participation. All of the research that we conducted, the 3 reasons that we just explained to you, are consistent with the implementation in these 6 cities.
Yeah, and so it's our goal that we want to pass a bill on the Michigan House and Senate to give cities and municipalities the right to lower the voting age to 16. At this point, we're just working to give them the autonomy, that option to work on the local level to lower the voting age to 16. And at first, we need to work at the state level so they are allowed to do that. So that's what we're working on right now.
And of course, if you go to our website, vote16michigan.com, we also have an email list and a volunteer page and form. So if you'd like to help out, we'd love to have you. Again, it's just vote16michigan.com. It's in the chat. Thank you.
And finally, if you guys have any questions, I'm sure there's a couple out there. We can take them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask us.
Awesome. So not a question, but there was just a comment in the chat, which I do find interesting, that said, if you guys are successful in implementing this, right, and getting the attention and getting it on a ballot somewhere, you and Christian will probably be 18 by the time that it actually passes. Do you have any response or feelings about that? Kind of what's your bigger term, your bigger purpose?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is likely that we'll turn 18 before we actually get this implemented. But our hope is that by lowering the voting age to 16, it's not just about us, right? It's about the generations behind us and really creating a democracy that is healthy and that has increased voter turnout because, you know, democracy just doesn't work and when people don't vote. So that's our goal in the future, even if we turn 18 before we can get this done.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
This is really interesting. I'm curious if, you know, if we were to look into this, do you have resolution language that you're asking, you know, local governments to pass to urge state legislatures to consider this issue? And would that be helpful?
Yeah, so right now we're working with mostly state legislators, but we would love to work with local municipalities. Like I mentioned earlier, right now the state bars local municipalities from lowering the voting age as it stands right now, and that's why we're working on the state level. But we would love to have conversations with local city leaders and other local leaders to get their endorsement and such.
Sure, yeah, because yeah, definitely would have to be done at the state level, like you said, but you know, we could certainly help urge them to consider the issue with a formal resolution if it was something that the commission wanted to consider.
That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Willem.
Hi. I actually have a question for you. I'm wondering what you think, considering you're a high school teacher. Not to put you on the spot, Lauren.
Oh, sorry. I'm not used to taking questions. I can see a lot of value in this when we talk as when I talk with my students about the voting age and voting responsibilities. The biggest response that they usually have is that they don't pay attention to politics because they are unable to vote. And so that aspect that Sky and Krishna are talking about, I can really see speaking to young people. Yeah, that's thanks for that, Blum. Tim, you've got a question as well.
Yeah, I have two questions actually. So when you run for office, the qualifications are to be a qualified elector of that district or body. Are you looking to have 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds be able to run for those offices?
Right now, no. It's kind of the same situation with senators or the president. Even though you can't run for the office, we would still like 16-year-olds to be able to vote for those positions.
No, I totally agree. And school board elections are usually held with the state or federal elections. Do you have any ideas to how you would separate those? I mean, as a school board member, I think a 16-year-old who's going to the schools has every right and should probably be voting for that school board. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So sorry, Krisha, go ahead.
You're good. But what happened in Iowa is they recently have a bill presented up in the state. And what they're doing is a separate ballot is going out just for those registered 16-year-olds as presented in that bill. So something similar would likely be on our ballot.
Perfect. I love the idea.
Thank you. And then I noticed a couple of questions in the chat. So William and Elaine asked, would local autonomy be local elections to permit 16-year-olds to vote or local city commissions authorizing it? So when we talk about local autonomy, we just mean that right now the state's home rule says that local governments cannot lower their individual voting ages without repercussions on the state level. So when we talk about local autonomy, we just need to allow cities to pass those local legislations so that they don't concur with any state legislation. So Larry, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to go ahead and continue to take some of the hands that are raised, but Krisha, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say there are a couple of other questions in the chat. So Larry, thank you. We'd love to contact Mary and Sherry over at the Northville Dems. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, we've got lots of networking we can help you with. Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea. Probably most people who are Democrats love the idea. I'm guessing the Republicans hate the idea, and I'm wondering what kind of arguments against us are they floating?
Yeah, so there's a couple of common arguments that are often brought, and one of them is that this is a partisan power grab for Democrats. And the kind of two things that we talk about when we're combating that is, one, we're offering to lower the voting age in nonpartisan elections, and giving, and not even lowering it, just asking to give that autonomy right now. And the second thing is that studies have shown that not all young people are liberals. Not all young people vote the same way that Republicans think they do. There's a large number of conservatives, and even within our organization, there are conservatives working with us. But a couple of things they always bring up are like, election integrity. How are we gonna stop these 16-year-olds from cheating in elections? How are we gonna how do they know when they'll copy their parents' votes? That's another common one. And the one there is that the Scottish referendum on independence showed us that 16-year-olds oftentimes don't vote the same way as their parents. 40% didn't vote the same way in the Scottish independence referendum, where 16-year-olds could vote. So there's a couple of common arguments there. I think there's a couple more, Krisha, you want to jump in, that are often brought up against our effort.
I mean, yeah, and then the other thing that's often brought up is the fact that 16-year-olds may be less civically aware or less aware of the issues that are going on. And the thing is, voting depends on something called cold cognition, which is fully developed at 16. Hot cognition, which is a little bit more advanced, it develops later on in your life. You're not using it when you're voting. Cold cognition refers to those long thought out decisions, whereas hot cognition are those decisions you make like right in the moment. And cold cognition is fully developed. So when it comes to voting, you're making informed decisions, and 16-year-olds have that. And that's actually why we're not advocating for the low voting age be 14 or 13, because cold cognition is fully developed at 16.
There's a couple more hands raised. Lisa.
Go ahead.
Hi, Krishna and Sky. First of all, love you guys. And Krishna, I want to be you when I grow up. The way you played that was beautiful. I come from a psychology background. Both of you are extraordinary examples of just how much this new generation is going to change things. And my soon-to-be 16-year-old's actually at work. So she's a worker and wishes she could be here. And I know she would love to meet with you and bring what you're doing to Royal Oak High School. And as her mom, who was a recently elected school board member, I would love to talk with you guys. I would love to see how we can build this here in Royal Oak, because I think you guys are just pretty much amazing, both of you. Kudos to your parents. They did some good work there. But no, you guys, I don't know what else to say, but we'd love to chat with you, I'm sure. And I think what you guys are doing is pretty darn great. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your vision, and would love to talk.
Thank you
so much. And congratulations on being elected. I just put our information in the chat. It's kind of just in a big block, but we'd love to get in touch with you. And if your daughter ever wants to help out, if she can just go on our website and fill out the volunteer form.
And also, if you have any more questions after this meeting, that information is in the chat, so you can reach out to us and ask those as well. There's one more hand raised. Mike, what you got for us?
Good, I'm unmuted. Just a couple things. I think when I was in high school, my civics teacher would have loved to develop the curriculum around an upcoming election and gone through the ballot with us, not to sway us, but to say, what have you learned about the candidates? What have you learned about the issues? And that would have been a great motivator. It's like I would have gone through the whole ballot, and gone out and voted, rather than more theoretically about how things work. So I think this could actually really encourage curriculum in the high school. So I really like the idea. The second thing is, I almost think you have to run two different campaigns for conservative thinking and liberal thinking people. maybe for Republicans or conservatives, you might have to discuss the fact that they love the idea that 16-year-olds can go out and work. It's legal. So they can begin to be adults and take responsibility. And then you flip it around and say, and vote. I think when my dad's generation was young, they were trying to get the drinking age down to 18 or something like that, because that was the age you're allowed to go get drafted and go die for your country. And they're like, well, if you can die for your country, can't you at least have a drink before you get drafted or something like that? So I think almost you may need to run a separate kind of messaging for conservatives, and you might really nail the idea of you can work now because you're responsible, and you should be able to vote and have a say in things. You know, for us, we're like, well, they should vote. But anyway, that was just my thought. I really like your presentation today. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Claire and Paul?
Yeah, I just would like to know what is the status of legislation taking place at the state level? What sort of interaction have you had with state legislators? And, you know, are there any bills being drafted or pending?
So at the moment, we're working with a senator in terms of drafting that bill with the Legislative Service Bureau, and we're hoping to have it introduced by the end of April, early May.
Great. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for our guest speakers? I'm kind of trying to, there's a lot going on in the chat. I know that that's always hard to kind of manage and keep an eye on. I think we caught all the questions that were coming in there. It looks like we've got time for just a few more. Emmy, you've got a question?
Yeah, hey, my name's Emmy Zanotti, fairly new to Royal Oak for those who don't know me. Also happen to be the vice chair of the Michigan Democratic Party's LGBT caucus. And so maybe I missed this part, but I was just interested to know, you know, what like partner orgs you're working with, or, you know, other organizations on the ground, because, you know, when I think of LGBTQ rights, right, like we just saw Republicans hijack the COVID relief bill to try to ban trans youth from participating in sports, right? So that's a community that has a lot at stake, and I think would be very interested in pursuing, you know, their right to vote at the age of 16, because so much legislation is coming and targeted at them right now. I think that would be an interesting sector of the population to engage. So, you know, if you're not working with any LGBTQ orgs, you know, I can put my info in the chat and reach out to me, but I would love to know what, you know, coalition partners you have.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, we'd love to work with any organization that would reach out to us. Right now, we're completely student run. We're completely 16, 17-year-old run. We have a partner organization called Vote 16 USA, but there's a lot of autonomy there. Mostly they give us, you know, funds that we need on a need basis. And mostly it's all run by the youth 16, 17-year-olds from all across Michigan. So yeah, we would love to work with you guys.
Great.
Yeah, and our information is in the chat. Our email is just vote16michigan@gmail.com, and we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of support coming at you over here from the Royal Oak area. So we're thrilled to connect you with some of these people and some of these organizations. We are so happy to have you, and obviously very, very excited about some young people kind of joining us in some of these fights. As we mentioned in the chat, we'll continue to share all of this contact information. I'll make sure that we're, you know, condensing it all and that it's sent out after the meeting, so that we can all continue to be in touch and that you can follow along with the work that Krisha and Sky are doing. Any last minute questions, comments? No. All right. So Krisha, Sky, thank you so much for joining us here and sharing your thoughts and ideas with us. We are really proud of the work that you're doing already so far, and are thrilled to see kind of where you head with this organization.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. We'll be in touch. So that was an exciting way to start our day. We are going to go ahead and move on to just a few announcements. We kind of jumped over some of our other introductions so that we were able to welcome Sky and Krisha. Is there anybody in the meeting right now who is brand new to the Royal Oak Democratic Club or has not joined us in a while and would like to say hello and kind of explain what brings you here? If you would like to either just jump off mute, you can jump into the conversation, or you can go ahead and raise your hand. That option actually has moved on Zoom with a couple recent updates. It's not in the participants category anymore. If you click on the menu at the bottom of your screen and click reactions, there's a little raise hand button there, as well as some like celebratory emojis if you want to, if you want to just get pumped up about what we're talking about. So anybody who is first time at our meeting or first time in a long time. Yeah, Liza, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Liza Parkinson. I have lived in Royal Oak forever. I'm super active in politics in Macomb County because I'm president of one of the teachers unions there. But I decided it's time to start being active at home. So I'm super excited, and wow, what great speakers. This is just really energizing. Thank you.
We are glad to have you, and we will put you to work.
I left Facebook Messenger.
Good. Yep, I actually already saw that. So we'll be in touch. Yeah, Liza, we're glad to have you.
Great.
Anybody else first time joining us or first time in a long time? Anybody that would just like to say hello? Mary, it looks like you came off mute. Do you want to introduce yourself? Mary Dunmeyer?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to unmute, but yeah, I've been here pretty much forever.
I thought so, but thank you. Hello. Well, good. Okay. Anybody else? First time in a long time, first time meeting? No? Okay. Before we move into some of our local reports and elected officials reports, I actually want to turn the floor over to Ellen Napa real quick. Ellen, you in the call?
Hey, it's Emmy. Ellen's been texting me and saying she keeps getting booted, so I don't know if she's maybe currently out of the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
No, can you hear me? I'm here.
Yeah. Hey,
there you are.
Okay, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so everyone, please save the date. Next month, April 10th, Saturday, from 11 to 12, we'll be having a book talk with Abdul Al-Sayed. He just came out with a new book, Medicare for All, A Citizen's Guide. This meeting is a special meeting. It happens a week after our regular April meeting. Not only are we having a book talk, you will also be able to order signed books, either his first book, Healing Politics, or his most recent book. So we're setting up right now. Actually, Lauren and Ian have been hard at work setting this up with BookBeat, the independent bookseller in Oak Park, so we can support our local independent booksellers. So there will be links for ordering books and promotion for that coming very soon. Did I cover everything, Lauren?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so we're really excited about that. Like Ellen said, we're working with BookBeat in Oak Park, and we're going to be able to offer signed copies of both of his books. We're going to do like a pre-order, and then a big order. We'll host the event with him, and then we'll get your signed books to you. So it's obviously still not an in-person event, but we're going to do our best to replicate a book signing as much as we can. So we are really excited to have him. He's a fascinating local person, and still going to be someone we want to pay attention to. So we'll hear from him in April, which is really exciting. And thanks, Ellen, for all your work in coordinating that. We're going to go ahead and move into Democratic Party reports. I know that there's probably not too much going on the state side. Is there anyone in the call right now that has anything from the Michigan Democratic Party to report? You can go ahead and raise your hand or just come off chat. Okay. Seeing none, the only message that I had to pass on to you was from Mona DeQuee. I don't know if you had seen if anybody had seen some of the recent messages from the MDP about voting lists being purged and some voters being taken off and different things like that. So the MDP is working right now to contact voters that have not recently voted to make sure that they update their information and stay on those rolls. And so Mona has created phone bank lists for those specifically of voters in Oakland County that are registered but haven't voted recently, who are at risk of being taken off the voter rolls. And so we need some help in reaching out to those people. I'll go ahead and send the link to the phone bank in the chat, and I'll share it after the meeting in an email as well. But we do need some people to get on the phones and reach out to some local voters to make sure that everyone maintains their right to vote. This can be, it's not at any specific organized time, and it's going to go through the end of March. So the MDP decided to extend that. We'll continue doing it for the next couple weeks, but you can make calls at any time that's convenient for you. So that works well, and I'll share that link to the phone bank in just a minute. Any other Democratic Party announcements? Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and go to our elected officials reports. If you are an elected official on the call right now at any level of our government, go ahead and raise your hand. I do have a special request from State Rep Jim Ellison to go ahead and go first because he's got to jump out of the meeting. So State Representative Ellison, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you, and then we'll get through all of our other elected officials. Lots of people joining us this morning. Awesome.
Thank you, Lauren. Excuse me. Yeah, I got a book out early. I'm scheduled to get shot number 2 at 11 o'clock. So hopefully I can remain healthy for a while. Been kind of a tense week up in Lansing. We did pass off the House floor some semblance of some kind of budget action. It's really ugly. It's the supplemental that would distribute the federal money that we've already got. And as many of you probably know, the Republicans refused to allot the entire sum of money that we got from the Fed. So they're playing games with it. They're sending less money out, but all of them are tied into a contingency. It's tie-barred into a piece of legislation that would force the governor to give up the powers that she has as governor and the health department has as health department of the state to the Republican legislators, so they can make these decisions that they can't seem to make anyway. So there is money coming in the budgets. I voted no, just out of principle, because they're playing games. It's strictly a partisan game. Some of my colleagues held their nose and voted yes because something's better than nothing. But the reality is the governor is going to veto these. And so we're going to get to a point where nothing's going to be allocated. We're going to start all over again. And we can't seem to get the Republicans to understand that, they're not hurting us as Democrats, they're hurting their constituency. So, yeah, other bills they had included school funding with caveats that they have to have 20 hours of training by March 22nd to receive a certain amount of money. It's full of a bunch of BS. That has nothing to do with funding and has nothing to do with COVID recovery. It has everything to do with the power struggle. So if you read reports that I didn't support the budget, I didn't support the budget because it wasn't worth it. Other things I've got here. I'm sure someone's going to cover COVID. I mean, we've all seen the announcement from the governor that she's relaxed some of the constrictions we have. To me, it's okay. I mean, I'm glad we're not doing what Texas is doing, and that would be a disaster. But if we can, slowly creep the numbers up and get some of the economy back in shape, we'll see how it works out when the summer comes in. And you also notice that we've lowered the age requirement on the COVID vaccine. It indicates to me that there is more vaccine coming in. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that. So again, the president has promised everybody vaccinated by the end of May. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and I think that's going to be the key. Is once we all get vaccinated, then we can start moving into some semblance of normal. On my personal side, because I'm an advocate for local government, we're still working on our legislation to change how we finance local government with the effects of Headley and Prop A. I'm going to be reintroducing my Headley roll-up bill. In a nutshell, when Headley was first put in place back in 1978, it had a provision to roll down the tax rate as well as roll the tax rate up when you've got a suffering economy. And when Prop A was passed in the 90s, it eliminated that roll-up provision. So my legislation will put the roll-up provision back in, which isn't going to be a big effect, but it will give local communities an option to roll their tax rate up if they're in an economy, property values have dropped down, and Prop A won't let them bring those property values back up. So it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully we'll get that going. I signed on to a package of legislation the other day dealing with elder abuse. My particular bill will define the criminal terms, the penalties, the criminal penalties for defrauding an elder of their money. In other words, you take grandma's money and you're going to get in trouble and go to jail. So that was a package of, I think, 10 or 11 bills. Heidi's online. She can probably correct me. But anyways, other than that, the only other announcement I make is going to do a little bit of personal chest thumping. I found out last week that I have been named Legislator of the Year by the Michigan Municipal League, which is quite a thing for me as a guy who came up here with municipal government in his focus. That was, yeah, it's kind of fun. So I'll haven't had a whole lot of chest thumping being minority party and but this is I'll take this and run with it. So if anybody's got any questions, I'll try to answer them. I will state that my legislative director, Heidi Zabik, is in the meeting. I asked her to come on and stay on and answer questions if anything comes up, because I say I'm going to lose my place in line if I don't get out of here pretty quick. So anybody? Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, Paul.
Yeah, Jim. Just how much support are you getting for your local legislation? How are the Republicans?
I'm getting more than I got before. There are a number of local government Republicans who do understand the problem, and as I explained what I'm trying to do with the Headley roll-up provision, they get it. They know that it was in there, and it only disappeared because of Prop A. And so we're working with the legal eagles to try to find out to make sure that we can put that back in without having to go in front of the voters, because it was a constitutional change. But we're looking at that. We introduced it last year just to test the waters, and I did get positive feedback. Will I have enough? I don't know. But working with the MML, we are forming a local government caucus with former mayors, former council people, to try to solve this municipal finance problem. It is the priority of my remaining 2 years.
So excellent, very good. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you all.
It looks like the Ashers have a question as well. Jim, if you need to drop off, you said who is here to answer questions for you?
Heidi Zabik.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm here.
Hey, Heidi. So why don't you go ahead, Jim, you go get your shot. We got to take care of you. And Ashers, if you've got a question, it looks like Heidi can hold it for you.
Thank you all. I'll try to stay longer next month. Bye.
Well, my question was whether Representative Ellison had any input into the Vote 16 legislation and whether he plans to co-sponsor it.
We actually have not seen bill language yet on that specifically, but in concept, it's a wonderful idea, and especially with trying to remember who it was who pretty much just made the case for it, in terms of, you know, so much of the legislation, it seems like, is being targeted at youth, and yet so many of the good things and, you know, the future is coming from the youth. You know, it's a great idea. Obviously, the devil is in the details, and so we do need to see the actual bill language before, you know, we formally, you know, move forward. But in concept, it's a wonderful idea.
Looks like we have a few more questions probably for Representative Ellison. Renee Boren.
Hi, Heidi. My question is the COVID rescue plan that's in the Senate right now. If that is passed, is your expectation that any federal money associated with that comes to Michigan will also be held up by the Republicans?
You know, there's some legal arguments out there being made that that there's some language in our Constitution that says that federal funding is will be appropriated. And so because of the way it's worded, some would argue that federal money that has already been appropriated by Congress does not need to go through the legislature to be distributed. That has never been the case in the past before, though. We've always put it through the budget appropriations process. So whether that would hold up in court, how that would play out, we're not certain. And we're hearing that the governor is not wanting to try to exercise that legal angle. So, you know, it is anyone's guess right now as to how that's going to pan out.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Representative Ellison?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Is it your opinion or Jim's opinion that the governor is going to veto that COVID relief bill in whole? I've heard some talk that she may try to pick it apart, or do you think she's just going to take the entire bill and just veto the whole thing because of the way they've played it?
Yeah, they have that so convolutedly connected that it wouldn't surprise me if she vetoes it in its entirety. And if that did happen, I would imagine that they would be coming back to the table very, very quickly to stop playing the games and get going on it. Because I think the backlash from that would be pretty huge. But Governor Whitmer's a pragmatist, so it wouldn't be unexpected either for her to do a line item on it. Yeah, this is such a moving target, and with us being in the minority, we're just flat out not part of those conversations.
Good, thank you.
Great, thanks so much for that. Heidi, we appreciate your time. Thanks for stepping in and helping answer those questions. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our other elected officials. I'm seeing lots of city commissioners in our meeting this morning. Melanie Macy, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay, I think we're gonna hopefully spread out the updates so we don't all say the same thing. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what's going on with the library and parks. So we were, I think, surprised to have so much reopening happening over the past couple of weeks. And the library has gotten some questions about when it's time for the library to do reopening too. And of course, you probably know that it's already available for curbside pickup. But in terms of going into book browsing, which a lot of us are missing out on, that's not available again right now. And part of the reason for that is that we're doing a library refresh, paint, carpet, moving things around. There's going to be some new spaces for gathering and collaboration. This has been in the works for over a year, and there's been some delays, not only due to COVID construction, but also due to rethinking what we wanted to prioritize because of COVID. For instance, those collaborative spaces maybe aren't as important as we thought they were a year ago to get done right now. There's also a makerspace that's going to be included as part of this. We got an outside grant to bring in some equipment for that I think will be really great. So the library at the moment remains open for curbside. The seed library is available if anyone's starting to plant. It's also a new library of things that has things like games and puzzles that you can take out from the library as well. So that's happening. We're going to wait until the renovation, which is right now there's paint going up. If you've seen the library's webpage, and carpet going down, it makes it really impossible to get people in the building. We already were planning to be closed. So we're looking at that again at the end of this month. We have our next library board meeting, and we'll be discussing which phase the library will move into. Hopefully we'll be moving back soon to the browsing phase of it. In addition, during this time, the book, there's in the back where we used to have the book drops that were available for people who were donating books. It is now available on a limited basis again. The Friends of the Library are back. There's a single bin so you can fill it up. We ask that you don't put things outside the bin or continue to fill it once it's full, because there's a limited number of people who are able to do it. In addition, that's in the little library, like sunken lot at the corner of 11 Mile and Troy. In addition, there's a place for perhaps used textbooks for paper and book recycling that you can drop those things off. In addition, the library is working with the school district. The Cultural Competency Engagement Committee has talked about doing a citywide book club, and so we're working together with them on that, and that should be announced pretty soon as well. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was on the park side, the senior center is open for some in-person classes on a limited basis. And the Salter Center will be reopened for pickleball leagues coming up now as everything is beginning to reopen, including the contact sports. And we're also going to be having an art contest through the Parks Department featuring our Royal Oak parks for young people in Royal Oak, students. And that'll be launched pretty soon with the theme Royal Oak Parks, and it'll be part of our centennial celebrations because this is our centennial year. Okay, I think that's all I have. I'm not going to speak again at the candidate report unless there seems to be some reason to do so. I am running again. I'm collecting signatures. If you'd like to sign, let me know. I'm happy to come by and collect it in person. That's all I got.
Great, thanks, Melanie. City Commissioner Kyle DeBuck.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to tell you about our new tree ordinance we passed earlier last month, which over the years we've been trying to fine tune our tree strategy to protect and grow our tree canopy. We've had a tree ordinance on the books that was requiring folks to replace trees taken down as part of development 2 to 1. We're just trying to make sure we're growing and investing in the tree canopy to leave a green city for future generations. But this new update, I think, really gets us even closer to that, because kudos to Commissioner Colo, who really dug in on this and trying to find a better way for us to expedite the rate at which we're replacing these trees. The old way didn't account for it. You take down a big old 20, 30 inch diameter tree. If you replace it with 2 saplings, I mean, hooray, in 20, 30 years, that's going to help replace the canopy, but it's still not the 2 to 1 is not really accounting for what was lost for the city. So as opposed to that, we're now enacting an ordinance where the trees are replaced by diameter. So diameter at breast height. So if it's a 30-inch tree, you have to replace 30 inches worth of diameter of new trees on site or elsewhere in the city. And we've also given the Planning Commission the ability where if that's not feasible on site, they can choose to assess a fee, and it's based on a report we had staff do a couple of years ago that tried to quantify the actual value to the city and to residents of each tree. And so that fee comes to, depending on the type of tree, $180 to $200 an inch. And that would go into a tree fund for the tree to more aggressively plant trees and replace trees around the city. So I think it's a huge improvement in our tree strategy. I'm really excited about it. It's really strengthening, what we're telling people up front when they're coming to develop, that we value our trees. This is going to be the cost to you. So plan accordingly, because this is something that Royal Oak has made a priority. And I'll also mention that, tree replacement is a major part of our stormwater management strategy. We're getting into, spring, likely to be wet. And, we've had this surge due to climate change of record storms that overwhelm our systems that go beyond what they were ever built for. So trees absorb water. That's a major part of our strategy. But to the extent that this conversation is inevitable when we enter the wet season and the snow melts, we're also enforcing net zero runoff on new sites. That means people have to hold their water on site. Either through retention or detention, so it's not flowing into the stormwater system when we're having these major events. We're incorporating green infrastructure into public projects, pricing the bioswales and the rain gardens going in all over the city. The civic center plan is a net gain of green space, right? Where there was once parking lots, now we're going to have these swaths of grass soaking up water in our downtown. We're pushing hard on public education about how folks can manage water on their home, at their homes, on their properties better, keep it out of their basements, but also, hold water, put it back in the ground where it belongs. And as you know, we've been exploring the idea of a stormwater utility, which would be a systemic, change in how we charge people for sewer rates based on the water that is flowing into the system off your property, which would create, over time, radical changes in how we're developing and managing properties in the city, and hopefully really creating this incentive to put water in the ground as opposed to the gray infrastructure where it belongs and where it goes now. So that's our approach on this. It's a regional thing. Obviously, we're working closely with Jim Nash, Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner, because even if we're an A+ in our city, if our neighbors are not following suit, we're going to suffer the consequences regardless. So our approach is green. This is a big part of our environmental strategy. The alternative is, $30 billion with a B dollars of new gray infrastructure. So we just hand this same environmentally irresponsible status quo to the next generation. So I want to stick with this green strategy, and I hope you're all on board with that. And we'll keep you updated. That is it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Kyle. City Commissioner Shar Douglas.
Thank you, Lauren. A couple of things I'm going to touch on. One is, and I think you're going to tell the members about this later, at the April meeting, we will be talking about some zoning changes that are being contemplated in the city. At this Tuesday's Planning Commission meeting, we're going to lay the groundwork for community engagement around those proposed changes. So if you're interested in sort of getting an advanced preview of what you'll be learning at the April meeting, tune into the Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. The Senior Citizens Aging in Place Task Force was on hiatus for a year, COVID, blah, blah, blah. We finally met again last week and are trying to restart our process. Our challenge has not so much been having the task force meet, but that the next step in our process is to create a series of 6 work groups around specific subjects, and those work groups need to meet multiple times to develop a work plan to help us achieve our goals. And that process of convening people in that form was just a little too daunting, plus we lost some staff. But we're trying to kick that in the pants and try to get that process going, even if we're doing it through digital meetings like this. So stay tuned on that as we try to figure out a way to make that process move forward. And that's all.
Great, thanks for that update. City Commissioner Pat Perush.
There, I managed to unmute. I get to talk about the downtown park. Those of you who have been downtown recently close to the old City Hall may have noticed now that there is a construction fence around the old police station and the old City Hall extending closer to the library. That means that the construction process for the downtown park has started. And the portion that has started so far is the demolition of the City Hall and the police station. You can't see a whole lot going on right now because I think they're wrapping up asbestos remediation inside the 2 buildings, which has to happen first by state law. And that was a pretty extensive process given the age of the buildings. But you'll pretty soon start to see the buildings themselves come down. It's important to note that at least in terms of City Hall, we've gotten questions about some of the exterior features and what's going to happen with them. The exterior features around the front door, like the stone acorns and the stone lintel that has City of Royal Oak above the front door, those are going to be removed and saved and reused somehow. We're not sure yet exactly how that's going to happen, but they definitely are going to be saved. And also, the Historical Society was invited to come into City Hall before the police department used it for training, and it got really trashed. And we're allowed to go through all of the offices and pick out for preservation items that they thought would be worthwhile to add to the city's historical collection. And they managed to collect a lot of items, whether it's old equipment that was used in the voting process or old equipment from the treasurer's office, accounting stuff, documents, maps from the engineering department. a lot of things that were then donated and are now in storage in the Historical Society building on Webster. So that has occurred as well, historical preservation of items within that were within the old city hall. I don't know how much the police station had, but that was probably targeted as well. So we've got some things that we've saved from those two buildings. In terms of the new construction, the City Commission is on its agenda on Monday, expected to approve bids for the actual construction part of the project. It'll be not only the actual leveling of the ground, but also the installation of underground utilities. The bids for that construction came in higher than what was expected because of COVID, because of the shortage of materials, because of the shortage of some trades workers for specific things. And the Downtown Development Authority, of course, is paying for the downtown park. And their initial budget that they had set aside was $5 million. And that was a number that was set aside a little over 3 years ago. And a lot has changed in that period of time. So we went back to the Downtown Development Authority with this new construction cost estimate. And the primary reason why it came in a little higher, as I said, was COVID and materials costs, but also because the Downtown Park Task Force, which I chair, added a small 1-unit restroom facility to the overall plan. And then we also made sure that it was very important to us to add the very small water feature. We thought that that was an essential element of the park. And those two items kicked the cost higher than we anticipated. So we kind of split the difference with the Downtown Development Authority. The Downtown Development Authority is adding to its budget enough money to cover the cost of the increased costs that are based upon COVID issues. And the city has agreed to fund the cost of the small water feature. And we're going to take it out of capital improvement funds, half this year and half next budgeted year. So the water feature is going to actually go in this year when it's constructed. The restroom facility was decided we would put that off for a while. It's not essential. We're going to put it in the underground plumbing so we can build it when we have the money for it. And we don't have to dig up the ground in order to do that. But the actual structure itself, we're going to put off for a while until we get some more money because we don't think it's absolutely essential that it be there, especially in this first year. The targeted date for opening is early October. Assuming we don't get another crisis that we don't anticipate. We hope to have it ready so that we can celebrate it as part of our centennial celebration as a city. It is called Centennial Commons. And the plans going forward are to move forward on it as soon as we get those contracts approved, which hopefully will be Monday night. So I'd be glad to answer questions about it when you take questions later on. But that's the plan for the downtown park.
Thanks so much, Pat. Yeah, we can do questions for all the city commissioners at once. I think that might be a little bit easier, but I personally am pumped about the park, so I'm really excited to hear the progress on that. City Commissioner Monica Hunt.
Good morning. So I wanted to talk this morning about the goals and objectives that was recently approved by the City Commission a few weeks ago. So 5 weeks ago today, actually, the commissioners, the mayor, and staff for the city of Royal Oak met, and we spent an entire day working on the plans and goals and objectives for this upcoming year for the city. There are some very aggressive plans and goals. They appear a bit overwhelming if you've had an opportunity to take a look at them, but it's important to remember that they are plans and progressive plans for this year, step-by-step plans to tackle certain things to keep our city running and the great city that it is. So if you've ever taken a look at the goals and objectives, and I encourage you to do so, you can go on the city's website or Facebook page and take a look at them. They tackle everything from infrastructure, tying back to what Kyle just said, ways to improve our water system or our sewer system after heavy rains to keep those backflows from coming up into your basement, to environmental sustainability plans, to our parks, keeping our parks maintained and beautiful the way that they currently are, and ways of communicating with the city, communicating with the community, and vice versa. So those plans were unanimously approved by the commission, I believe 2 Mondays ago. And I again just encourage everyone to take a look at them, read through them, and be a part in making sure that we are meeting those goals and those objectives. And that is my announcement.
Thanks so much for that, Monica. City Commissioner Brandon Colo, and then we will take questions. It looks like we've got a few for the city commissioners.
Thanks, Lauren. I know the mayor's not here to watch. Hit a few points. He got kicked out and he's having technical issues. So I'll talk about his points.
I'm back, Brandon. I'll go.
Oh, Mike made it.
But we're going to go audio with me, which is probably to the benefit of everyone. I think this will work.
Okay. Well, then I won't talk about his awesome talking points. So, hey, I'll just say, like, how cool is this? We just heard from Kyle and Melanie and Shar and Pat and Monica about all this cool stuff happening in Royal Oak. I mean, the library is being renovated right now. We have the downtown park being built. We're heavily focused on environmental sustainability, keeping water out of basements and, keeping the earth. I mean, we need to cool the earth, quite frankly. It's getting too hot. So what can we do? We're just a small little player in this. But we're moving forward right now, which is really important for everyone here on this meeting, everyone here in Royal Oak. So, it's a great time. One thing we're also looking at is opening downtown. Last month, we entered into agreement with Oakland County to get $165,000 in grant relief for our local businesses to help them open up again, specifically restaurants. We're assisting them with getting their outdoor seating set up and expanding it, and then their indoor dining, keeping it safe. It's still scary. The vaccines are coming out. We're winning, but we still need to be cautious. So this money from Oakland County is going to help our downtown restaurants stay in downtown Royal Oak and make sure that they thrive. Because when we all have a place that we can go and congregate and enjoy, life's a little better. So I won't take a lot of time. There's been a lot of good things going on here, so I'm excited to keep that progress moving forward and working for everyone here. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Mayor Fournier, want to speak then?
Yeah, Mayor Fournier here.
Great.
I appreciate it, Lauren, and I apologize about my technical issues. I'm not sure which of my brood of kids is streaming or whatever's happening, but right now the audio is working, so I'm good. Not a whole lot to add. I mean, a pretty remarkable crew of commissioners we have in this city, and I'm just proud to serve with them. And just like what Brandon said, look at all the things that we've been tackling over the years and that we continue to tackle, and we get thrown curveballs at us, we get priorities shifted around, but we continue to maintain the momentum. And a lot of that is to do with a community that's based in values that we all share. So it's easy for us to do our job. We come to a meeting like this and we see our friends and our neighbors, rallying around the things that are important to us as a community. It makes our job so much easier to make progress and be an example for all the other communities to follow, which is really, additional progress in itself. Just a couple small things. One related to the city attorney search that we're undergoing. We've identified a number of candidates that we're going to be interviewing coming up here week after next. This is really an important thing. Like the city manager, the city attorney isn't just an individual that, helps us, advises us on real estate transactions or, other legal matters. This individual does have an important role to play, if not one of the most important roles to play in, the city's prosecution efforts for crimes, et cetera. And so, for us, it's going to be really important to find that perfect candidate, that perfect person to represent the city of Royal Oak, represent who we are, what our values are, and really bring forward, an agenda that is fair and just for all. And I think that I'm excited for the fact that we had, unlike last time, different economic times, we had a number of qualified candidates apply, which is, unusual for the fact that a city attorney is really a specialized line of practice. It doesn't pay $1 million like private practice. And then, you have to have some experience and have some credentials to be able to do the job right. But I think we have a number of people that, I'm excited, and I don't know how my other commissioners feel, but we're excited to interview these people and move forward with some highly qualified candidates that share our values, and we'll see the outcome of that. So I encourage you to stay tuned to that interview process coming up here. The other thing, just quickly, if you visit downtown here, you might see a couple news articles about some of the parking issues. Or not issues, but a new approach that we're going to have with some of the meters downtown. We're going to make a decision tomorrow or Monday night on, switching services. We were kind of forced to move forward with new parking meters because the technology was older. They no longer could accept the payments under the current 2G connectivity. And we decided to, our police department, as well as some other downtown interests, kind of came together with this proposal. We sent it back. And we had a lot of community input on, moving forward with a little bit more of a progressive, I guess you could say, or more advanced way of doing metered parking in our downtown, which allows people many more convenient options to pay and add time to their meter and hopefully avoid tickets moving forward. So there's always trade-offs. We're going to debate it Monday night. But I'm happy to see that we're trying to think critically about, parking in the downtown. Not that that's the most important issue to Royal Oak, but unfortunately to the outsiders, that seems to always have some sort of cachet or stigma as a topic. So we're again trying to, look for better ways of doing it. So I encourage you to pay attention there. And when the changes come, just be patient. Might take you once or twice to get used to it, but I promise it'll be better moving forward. So those are just the two topics I had to talk about, and look forward to any questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Mayor Fournier. It looks like Claire and Paul have a question. They have their hand raised.
Yeah, hi. My question's for Commissioner DeBach. And, first a little comment. Thank you. I'm really glad to hear about the tree ordinance. Just to share, we had a neighbor a couple years back who moved in, cut down 2 70-year-old maple trees, and then sold his house 2 years later. So, just really great to have such an ordinance. But as we've been walking through the neighborhood, this is the question. We've been seeing a lot of trees that are getting cut down between the sidewalk and the street. And it seems like the city's been a little bit aggressive in terms of cutting down some of our existing trees. I wonder if, you could provide some background as to, how that assessment takes place. Sure. And so thanks.
So, yeah, absolutely. One thing for clarity. So the tree ordinance is on new development. So private residential, right now we're working on how to identify legacy trees that we would protect even on private residential property, which is just a much bigger thing. And you'll certainly see a lot more people storming City Hall when we have that conversation, because we're talking about private property rights at that point. As for the city's action, so sometimes it's DTE and they'll take trees out without telling us, and that's an ongoing battle with them. Unfortunately, they do the calculus and they think it's cheaper just to completely remove the trees as opposed to coming back every few years and sending crews to trim the trees, which we continually urge them to do, but we have no authority over them. They have legal, unfettered access to the right of way. When it is the city doing it, it is only, is my understanding, it's only when the tree is presenting a danger to public safety. So that means that it is dying, or it's one of those silver maples that can't withstand the weight of its own branches and is dropping huge logs all over. But that's when the city's taken down a tree, it's because we've had an actual expert go out and assess the tree and determine that it is diseased or unsafe in some way. But our process is the same as we are holding developers accountable for, or has been, on that 2-to-1 basis where we're putting trees in elsewhere in the city, if not on site where they've been removed. So often when they're coming out of the easement, often homeowners will say, please don't put another one there because I'm having trouble with roots in my sewer system. So we'll put the tree elsewhere at the homeowner's request, but we are constantly replanting. And another one of these part of our environmental strategy is, I've been, I think we put it in a vote directing staff, like I want a tree report every year about, at least our actions, what came down, what went up, where did the ones that went up, where did the planted trees go, and how many of those survived? Because that's going to inform what we have to do next year, right? So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, very good. Great to hear that there's an assessment going on and that you're monitoring that. So
Absolutely.
That's really good. So thank you much, Commissioner.
Thanks for the question.
Yep.
Good. Thanks for that. There was a question about Normandy Oaks in the chat. Brandon responded just as someone had asked if anybody could provide an update. Brandon said that there's been ongoing work on it throughout the winter and that it should be open by late spring. I just wanted to make sure that everyone heard that in case you weren't watching the chat box over there. There was one question for clarification about what Mayor Forney said about some of the changes to the parking meters. Are coins still going to be an option, or is everything going to be electronic? Does anyone know that answer?
Yeah, I think our understanding, coins are still going to be optional. And the way the meters work now, they're going to have some cool technology. One, to be able, they're going to be hardwired, so we don't have the issues with lighting. We don't have issues with the power going down on the low voltage. They're going to be normal voltage, I guess. And so we'll still have various methods to be able to pay. The one change, and this is a thing that I think the commission really debated and was challenged with, and we wanted to send it back to the public for evaluation, is that the fines are going to increase from $10 to $20. And this actually allows the system to fund without a capital outlay, to fund the new meters that we have to buy anyways. But on the risk of getting a ticket should be far, far less for people because the multiple opportunities to pay, the periods that we have on either end, sort of these grievance periods, 5 minutes before and after, you know what I mean, to account for, people that, we're not going to nail you right away. So those are some of the things we really want to get some feedback on the public. I had some reservations, but it seems like, overwhelmingly, people understand the fact that our parking fines are really low. And for people that don't understand the parking, long-term parking is meant to be in parking lots and parking garages. Short-term parking, which is good for visitors and good for businesses, is really for metered spots where you come in, you get your takeout, or you have a quick bite to eat, or you pick up something from a retail shop and you leave. You're there for less than a couple hours. If you're going to be working all day, you park in the garage. And what we found is that $10, a lot of people just use that fine as a way to pay for their parking, and it really, employees will park there all day. There's issues, and it really creates problems when us, consumers, want to go to the downtown and find an easy spot to do something, or so part of this, our fines are actually going to be a little bit more at par with some other communities of like size. And it hopefully will deter some people that are taking advantage of the low penalty system. I don't want to pay any more for parking, but if it allows us to create better circulation for visitors and for businesses, and helps us, especially in this COVID area, and certainly the parking in exchange for it, you get much better parking options as far as how to pay and how to do everything. Then the public, at least the feedback we got from hundreds of people, seems like that's a trade-off overwhelmingly that they're willing to have. So, sorry, long answer for a short question.
No, that's good information. People in Royal Oak care a lot about parking. So it's good for us to have updates about that. Any other questions for the city commissioners?
Lauren, can I just add something really quick to Mike's answer?
Only if it's to introduce your puppy.
Oh my gosh. So this is Goose, and Goose likes to eat everything.
Great. Okay, now you can add something.
He's got it at the park, so he needed attention. Cuter than Ellison's pig, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. But with the parking, the only thing I want to add is that with this new system, even though the fine is going up, when you come back to your parking meter, and if you're over, you can just pay the regular rate for the amount of time you went over. So if you went over by an hour, you can pay $1 right then and not have the ticket issued. So it reduces the user error. And there's a bright red bollard it flashes, it lets you know that you're over time. So you can choose to pay it right there and then at their standard rate, or you can pull away and get a ticket. So it kind of gives you the option to avoid the ticket completely without having to necessarily race back and forth to your car all the time. So it's kind of a cool upgrade. But I'll let that be.
Just to clarify though, I think if you've been there 2 hours, regardless, you get a ticket. So if you stay past your 2 hours, you can't pay for the extra time after if 2 hours is the limit on the ticket. I mean, if you pay for an hour and then you stay for 2, you can pay for that 2 and not get the ticket. But if you stay after over 2, you automatically get a ticket. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And just one more benchmark piece of information, 2 hours is still a long time for a downtown. If you go to Birmingham, anyone that's been up there, I think it's 45 minutes or an hour or something like that max for every meter. So, like I said, we're not doing anything. We're not being revolutionary here in terms of policy. In fact, I'd still say we're pretty liberal in terms of parking policy, but in terms of technology, we, when this is implemented, we'll probably lead the way.
Great, thanks for that. Any other questions for the city commissioners? Julie, I see your hand.
Yes, actually, I have a comment not related to questions to the commissioners.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. So I am here with my Royal Oak Civic Foundation Executive Director hat on, and I wanted to just quickly let you know that the fundraiser was formally over on March 1st, which is the Fight Local Hunger fundraiser. And we were thrilled with the success of this campaign. Residents, businesses, houses of worship, and even kids have donated and raised more than $11,700 for our food charities, local food charities serving the hungry. So we're thrilled about that. And since Commissioner Douglas mentioned it at the last 1 or 2 meetings, I just wanted to come and give you the results. That $11,700 does not include the $7,500 match money that the foundation will add to that. So all 3 organizations are going to get a chunk of change and thereby be able to feed people readily in our community. And we just wanted to say thank you because I know a number of you on this call were donators. And it was really a great coming together of the community, and I feel very grateful to live in such a place. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for that update, Julie. And yeah, we were curious about how that panned out for that first effort. Lisa had just clarified in the chat, this is for the Royal Oak Community Foundation, right?
This is the Royal Oak Civic Foundation. That's
Civic
the
Foundation.
formal
Okay,
name.
good.
Yep.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that update. Pat, did you have something to add to the commissioner's report before we go on to school board?
Yeah,
oh. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to add on to Mayor Fournier's comments about the city attorney, one of the issues that this club was really excited about last year was the Human Rights Commission. That ordinance, and it has to be done by ordinance, was about 90% drafted by our city attorney, former city attorney Dave Gillum, last summer. When all of a sudden, due to COVID, he took on the responsibilities of not only city manager and city attorney, but also managing all the city-related COVID activities. So the ordinance drafting kind of got put to the side until we get a new city attorney that can take that up. So that's one of the issues that we're going to be raising when we're going to be interviewing these new city attorney candidates starting on March 15th, is finishing up that process and getting that Human Rights Commission in place. Unfortunately, it did have to get sidetracked because there was just too much going on, and we just, the staff just did not have enough time, especially in his office, to pay attention to it and to get it wrapped up. It's a complicated thing. It's not a small ordinance. It's 8 or 10 pages of fine print in order to do it right. So it really takes some time and effort to get it drawn effectively for a specific community. Paul Rake, who came to us from Morgantown, West Virginia, came from a city that has one that operates really effectively. So he's been a great deal of help in terms of suggesting provisions and tweaking the language. But there again, they just got overwhelmed with stuff last year and just had to put it on the back burner. But it's going to come back. It'll come back. You'll see the issue raised in the city attorney interview process, and then we'll hopefully get it in place pretty soon. That's it.
Thanks so much for that. Okay, so we'll move on to Royal Oak School Board. There's been like a few things going on with schools lately. I think we probably need some updates. We've got school board trustees Lisa Haynes and Tim Jaworski here on our meeting today. Tim, do you want to speak first? Lisa?
I think Tim and Erica nominated me, so I will go ahead with our list, and we have a list.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
You're the spokesperson.
Hi,
Cool.
friends. Go Ravens. Okay, so we've got some updates for you guys. Kids are back in a hybrid model at all 3 levels. At the high school, though, this week it was just the freshmen. They got their own week for those that decided to go back. So the rest of the kiddos who are going back to face-to-face will start on Tuesday because Monday is a remote day. So far, we've heard it's going well. We haven't heard anything negative. Positive. Kids are excited. Teachers are excited. They're maintaining all COVID precautions. And speaking of that, your school board trustees recently went and did some tours, which was really great to see. We hit 2 of the elementary schools. We went to Roms, and then we went to Royal Oak High School. And we saw some of the new construction that is still in the midst of being done. We saw projects that were completed. And then we were able to really see what kind of COVID precautions are already being set up, ask a lot of questions. So it was really informative, and it was nice to be back in the schools. It's amazing when you walk into an elementary school, it still smells like chalk, crayons, and glue, no matter how old you are. So that was wonderful. We do have a school board meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m., so tune in. And of course, one of the most important topics will be reviewing and discussing the plan to return back to more face-to-face in person, getting more kids in. This is probably going to require some additional meetings this month. So not only do we have it on the 11th, but we already have one scheduled for the 18th as well. So 2 Thursdays back to back. We encourage everyone to tune in if they have questions, comments, or queries, to make sure you talk during public comment. Of course, my phone decided. Okay. We are also, as a group, working on some updates to some of our procedures, getting some of them more update is the only word I can think of. So we're working on some procedure updates. The last thing I'm going to talk about, which I'm very excited about, is we have posted the job posting for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coordinator. Woohoo! Yay! And okay, so it has only been up 1 week, and we already have 51 applicants, which is huge. The application, the position will remain posted until March 12th at 4 p.m. And I know that our superintendent is getting a wonderful group together to do the interviews, administrators, teachers, some folks from our cultural competence committee, as well as parents. So I think it's going to be a nice, well-rounded group of people to do the interview. And besides Go Ravens, that is all I have to say. Tim, my man, do you have anything to add, or Erica?
I would only add the way to see school board meetings while they're still virtual. The meeting requirements were changed a bit. You can have a group of 25 in a room for a meeting. That's not real conducive to a school board meeting. The school board and the administration would take up half that number. Due to that fact, and we don't want to turn people away from the meetings, they're going to continue to be virtual for the rest of the month. It's our understanding, and it's the school's legal counsel's understanding, that after March, it will be illegal to have a virtual meeting. So they're going to have to make some kind of accommodations, and we will be meeting in person most likely in April, unless there's direction from the governor's office that changes that. If you go to the school website, you can get the link for the meeting. And we're always looking for more parents, more community members, and even students to join our committees. Those are all listed on the website too. If you want to get involved in your school district, definitely get in contact that way, and we'd be glad to have you serve on those committees.
Mm-hmm. Especially the health and wellness one. I'm in the health and wellness one. You can come hang out with me. It's lots of fun. And Erica, do you have anything, my friend?
No, I think you guys did a great job covering it all.
Yeah, we were nominated to cover it all. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we call that being voluntold at school.
Yeah, I'm cool. It's just that's why I was on my phone. I'm like, okay, what things do I have to make sure I talk about? So
That's
I'm good.
great. Well, good. Thanks for joining us, Lisa, Erica, and Tim. Any questions for our school board members? Mike, it looks like you've got your hand up.
Yeah, quick question. Can the school board meetings then be held outdoors if it's going to be mandated that you have to have an in-person meeting? I'm just curious. I know it's kind of cold now, but anyway, that was the question.
Well, I know we hadn't talked about that necessarily, but what we had talked about doing was probably doing some type of a hybrid where the school board and administration would meet in person, and it would be then like zoomed to the community, and all community members would be able to still participate, public comment, all of those things, and then that way we would be able to accommodate anyone who wanted to participate. That's what we talked about doing it and so forth, but I don't think a final decision's been made yet.
I would love to have an outdoor meeting in the park. Can we do that?
Awesome. Any other questions or comments for the school board members? Shar?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Actually, I want to address something that's going into the chat here about the Royal Oak Civic Foundation's Fighting Hunger campaign. The Civic Foundation saw a need to address food insecurity in our community, and it looked to agencies in Royal Oak serving Royal Oak families, putting food into people's mouths. When we chose the Salvation Army in joining our initiative, the Salvation Army said, we want to serve the most vulnerable, which includes anyone who needs help regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or gender orientation. And they made clear in their response to us that they asked no questions about gender affiliation when deciding how to determine who the recipients are of their food programs. Our mission was to feed people, they feed people. We were not addressing any of their other programs, only the fact that they put food into the bellies of hungry people.
Thanks for that clarification. And like Melanie said, the ROCF is supported by, but is separate from the City Commission. I think that that's an important clarification, but also completely valid concerns and questions, right, from our members, just about what that process is. So I think that we'll continue to have that conversation, and thanks for the information. Any other questions for any of our elected officials who are on the call right now? No? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to kind of transition into what would normally be our candidate updates. We don't technically have candidates yet because we're still in the petition signature gathering process. But we are going to talk a little bit about how we are helping and supporting in our very important local municipal elections that are coming up in November. So we have a lot of seats that are up for re-election on our city commission right now. We have mayor and city commission positions. And so I want to hear from a couple people right now. I'm going to turn the floor over to Thor Hanses first. Oh, Dave Woodward is here. Dave Woodward, do you want to speak before we jump into this then?
Yes. I mean, just real quickly, because people are private messaging thing, it'll just be easier if I answer them all. I mean, the group, if that's okay. I don't want to.
That's totally fair. Sorry, I didn't see that you were in the meeting. Yep. Welcome.
No,
good morning.
No worries. No, great. Well, I'm sure you're doing a fantastic job. A lot of great information. Definitely, I mean, on the public health, there's two things I really want to stress, and like the importance of elections and why they matter. I mean, just to give an example of that, I mean, our Oakland County park system, we know our partnership with Normandy Oaks. Before Dems were in the majority and governing Oakland County, we had no people of color serving on this body that oversaw a near $30 million parks and recreation budget. Today, we have 40% of all the members are people of color. We had 20% of people who identified as female. Today, we have 60% who identify as female. So this is just a demonstration of like the elections actually result in things, and the representation that helps with our governing, it's happening. Related to that, I just want to like commend the city leadership. I mean, Oakland County, I don't care if it's economic development, public health, public services. The leadership in Royal Oak has a reputation of being on the front lines of progress. Everyone is watching what's happening. I had a conversation with our water resource commissioner, hearing some of the more recent stuff, things that he's trying to help take to scale. All roads come back to Royal Oak, and I just want to like tip my hat to the mayor and the city commission. All of you together are doing incredible things, and I'm just so excited about the stuff that's going to be popping this year. I mean, we heard the reports. These are the results of actions, decisions, and sometimes seemingly controversial, but they were the right decisions that got us where we are. So I want to underscore that. The last thing, this is where most of the comments come to, on the public health stuff, the vaccine, COVID response is the priority, but we're all focused on all of our attention appropriately. Public health, the lack of investment in public health, frankly, Oakland County was putting more investments in public health before COVID. We're going to do even more after that. People generally don't know who the public health director is. Leanne Stafford, who's been our medical officer when our public health director was planning on retiring anyway, but put off retirement because of the COVID response at a time where it made sense. Unanimously, the board appointed Leanne Stafford to be our health director, which has been fantastic because she has been doing a tremendous job overseeing not just the vaccine deployment, but letting science guide Oakland County's response to this going forward. And so I just want to give a couple stats because I know there's a lot of conversation about vaccines. I know a lot of people are frustrated. They want their vaccine today. Happy to report anyone who had identified more than a week on the Save Your Spot list for vaccine. Anyone who identified as an educator, everyone has their first dose on the Save Your Spot list. Now, if you're in different lists, I can't speak to that, but there are 23,000 people who identified as educators. Every one of them have received their first dose. 50% of those who identify as seniors, like 65 and older, nearly 50, right? 46% has at least their first dose. Many more who have appointments. We got our dosage report for next week. The Johnson & Johnson vaccines are arriving, and we're going to see a surge in senior doses over the next couple weeks. Even as the state's moving down to 50, we're putting a higher emphasis on those older populations, just given our sheer size. I hear the frustration when our neighbors to the south, particularly Detroit, that seems to keep expanding inappropriately. Detroit has a logistical challenge of getting the shots that come and the doses that they get into the arms. And there's a lot of varieties. You've got transportation issues. You've got hard to reach communities and a series of other things. And so Detroit is doing what it needs to do to get those vaccines in the arms as quickly as possible. Oakland County has actually built an incredible, robust infrastructure, and it's not one or the other. And frankly, we have a very great hospital network, like multiple hospital networks, also something Detroit doesn't have. Frankly, DMC has been completely useless in all of this because they're a for-profit entity. I mean, no offense to my DMC friends, but it's been harder. Let's just put it that way. Whereas Beaumont, St. John's, Ascension, Henry Ford have really stepped up the plate, probably quote losing money, but I mean knowing that it's necessary to help get to their patients to get these vaccines in people's arms. So happy to report that these things are going to continue to happen. We're going to be adding, trying to forecast other vulnerable population, particularly communities with individuals with disabilities. We want to get them in the queue so that we can start as soon as we've got, as long as we continue on the same trajectory, and as Representative Ellison mentioned, we expect a surge of vaccines coming over the next few weeks. We're going to be in a position to get those things in people's arms. We continue to put whatever the money, whatever it takes, we will spend whatever dollars necessary to do this. We are very anxiously awaiting the approval of the Biden COVID package in Congress, which will yield probably upwards of more than $200 million in COVID response. And again, like no other county, push that money out to local communities, to individuals, to support our schools and other things faster, and our local businesses faster or in greater quantity than Oakland County. And we were prepared to do that again. But That's, I mean, kind of the general thing. I'm happy to take any questions if it's related to vaccines, because I know, like, I've tried to catch, I mean, the dozen or so that I'm trying to respond. I think I answered those questions, but if there are, I'm happy to take any more questions.
Any questions for County Commissioner Dave Woodward? No? Looks like they're all just gonna chat
I did it
for your
I
connection.
did. Well, feel free to message me
Yeah.
privately too if there are any addition. But I think I covered it. And I think it was more efficient if I did it this way. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah, I was thrilled to have gotten my first one through Beaumont. It would couldn't have been any more organized. Everyone was so kind and thankful and calm. It went really, really well. So we're glad that that's happening and glad to see that happening. So thanks for facilitating that. It's important. Okay, awesome. So then we're gonna jump back into what I was introducing before and talk a little bit about the upcoming elections. Hopefully everyone has had time to rest and reset since the big November election and is ready for some local politics. So we've got important city elections coming up for mayor and city commission this fall. And we want to make sure that we're putting you in touch with everybody that we need to help support all the Democrats. So I want to turn the floor over briefly to Thora, and then we're going to hear from anybody who would like to speak who is currently circulating petitions to talk specifically about that and how and where we can access those. So Thora, you want to tell us a little bit about how we can get petitions and how we can volunteer?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I never thought I'd be doing this, but here I am again, asking for volunteers in front of the Royal Oak Democratic Club. I'm sure you've never seen that before, but here I am. So, after a long discussion with Brandon Colo, I'm back, and we're filling spots. As you've been hearing, I don't know if I can get this to light. Oh, and I don't have it on electronic. So we've got people throughout the city. We've got Tom Regan and Kurt von Erbstein up in the top that are collecting petitions. Yesterday, I added Jane and Tom Strunk. They're over here. Shar Davenport is on Washington, and I'm down here at 500 South Edgeworth with petitions and chocolate chip cookies, if I can do anything to amp up the anticipation here. We could probably use a couple more in the middle and at the top and down here in this densely populated area, if anyone is willing to volunteer. And in addition to that, this is the positions that I'm starting to fill now. We need people to carry petitions around. If you live in 13 and you're sheltered in place and you want to sign a petition, we need someone to either take you a petition and drop it off, or stand there and have you sign it and bring it back. Or also we need people to carry petitions back and forth to the central spots. So I need runners. Please call me. Please volunteer either through the club site or by calling any of the people on here, I suppose, can get back to me and I'll put you on the chart, give you a call and set you up. In addition to that, we're gonna start filling phone banks. I've already got one volunteer. She's a good phone banker, but she's not superhuman. We need to get her some help because we need to drive people to these collection spots. And Tom wants to start canvassing now. I just got Vote Builder on my computer. I'm almost ready to start cutting lists. He's probably gonna get the first list. So let's get this ball on the ground and rolling, and glad to see everybody again. So nice to see all these smiling faces. Thank you.
Good, Thora, we're lucky to have you back in action. Like Thora said, there's a whole bunch of locations that we have currently set up to sign petitions at. All 6 petitions are available at those locations. I've dropped a couple of the names in the chat. It sounds like there's a couple more too, so I'll get those addresses and make sure we're sending them out with everyone. There is also a Google Forms survey in the chat right now if you are interested in either signing petitions, hosting petitions, circulating petitions, or eventually phone banking and canvassing. We're gonna collect all of your interest there, and then we'll be in touch and divide that up. So is there anyone on the call right now who is currently circulating petitions that would like to say hello, give a little pitch, or ask for some help? Go ahead, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Yeah, Shar Douglas, go ahead. Sorry, I was just trying to get organized. Good. Shar, and then Monica.
And Lauren, thank you for, I mean, juggling all of this, the chat and the comments and the raised hands. I can't imagine how hard that is.
Got a lot of behind the scenes help, but thanks.
So anyway, yes, I'm running for a re-election in my third term. You all know that I'm a planner and I'm really focused on our city's future. My platform is that we want a city that is safe, accessible, welcoming, and sustainable. And if you want to know more about my positions, I have a new website up, charlendouglas.com. I have an updated Facebook page and a Facebook group. And I hope club members will join both of those different formats, different forms of information. And I'm just going to say, we're all Democrats, some of us are running for the same seats. And I just want to make sure that we all remember that we're all in the same club here and that we campaign on our platforms and our visions for the city. I think that's best for the city and best for all of us here in the Dem Club. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Monica.
Hello again. I am also running to retain the seat that I was appointed to in December. And just to let everyone know that I do have petitions for signature for myself and all of the incumbents, including Mayor Fournier. My address is 1302 West 13 Mile Road. I'll put it in the chat. I will have a table out today I won't have chocolate chip cookies, I'm sorry, but I will have dog treats for anybody who's walking by who is out running errands and wants to sign off on any of our petitions. Like Shar said, and my platform also is, continuing the great things that we're doing here in the city. We are moving toward a more environmentally sustainable city. That's one thing that I am really keen on. Climate change is, it's real and it's rampant. And that's something that we need in our generation to put a halt to minimize. So it's my plan to, help moving that forward, and my dog's plan, if you can hear her in the background. So I apologize for that, but stop by or let folks know that stand or table will be out this afternoon if you want to sign. And if you want me to send out, mail out petitions to you, I'm happy to do so.
Good, thanks for the info. Belen.
Hi, thank you. Let's see if this works. There you go. I'm running for Royal Oak City Commissioner again. Again. So the last time I ran, I was so lucky to have the club support, the club member support. I 100% know that I couldn't have done it without you. And today I am humbly and respectfully asking for your support again. So I know I said I wouldn't do it again, but I'm asking for your support. Currently, I need 500 signatures to qualify to be on the ballot in November. So the one thing I need for sure at this moment is signatures. So, and with COVID, it's going to be an uphill battle to collect those 500 signatures. I'm about halfway through. So if everyone here gives me a signature, I'll be almost there. So the way you can get a signature to me is you can call me and send me a message and I will mail you a petition or bring it to your home. You can also visit my Facebook page. It's Belen Morales for Royal Oak is my campaign Facebook page, and I will put that on the chat. I will also put my phone number there. It's my actual cell phone number. Send me a text message. I will get that petition to you. And what the heck, I will have cookies too. So I'm also going to put my home address if you want to stop by today and pick up a cookie and a petition. I'm directly across from Red Run. Is everyone okay with chocolate chip cookies, or do you want some variety? I could do oatmeal. Yeah, I'm buying them though. So, well, thanks everyone, and sign my petition.
We've started a different kind of competition, I think. Yeah, Girl Scout cookies, I think those will work. Good, cookies across the board in exchange for petitions. So as our members here have said, gathering petitions is going to be especially difficult given our ban on in-person meetings right now, right? Normally we would just circulate these all in the meeting. You would automatically have nearly 100 signatures after, one morning's worth of work. And so we're going to help everyone out to do that. So those 6 petitions will be available at those variety of signing locations, but also if you would like to volunteer to be a signing location or help us get people petitions to sign, that's what that survey is for. And then we'll be in touch about how to do that. Yeah, Blum, did you have something else? And then
real quick, I'll just go ahead and send an invite to everybody here to like my Facebook page, my Belém Morales for Royal Oak City Commissioner, so that it's easier to contact me.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, share that in the chat, and we'll make sure to put that in everybody's contact information. And we've got contact and networking information for all 6 people. Kurt, you've got your hand up. Do you have a question, comment?
Yes, I also have petitions. Tom Reagan had loaded me up earlier, maybe a week and a half ago. So I'm just down the road from him a little bit, but I'm in North Royal Oak, 3105 Clawson Avenue. I put it in the chat already. I think I have Ian coming to visit me at 12:15 to sign my petitions that I have. And that's really about it. I wanted to let everybody know I'm retired, so you can call me at the number that's listed in the chat as well. It's 248-914-2710, and we can make a date if I am elsewhere. We can certainly coordinate. Okay, that's it.
Hey, Lauren, the question someone had about signing all petitions, we might want to let them know that if you have Belém and Monica's there, you can only sign one or the other. You might want to explain why.
Yep, I was just going to clarify that. So some of the rules about petition signing and petition gathering, any volunteer 18 and up can circulate petitions. So if you do have young people at home or young voters who are interested in helping us out, anybody can knock doors, make phone calls, and circulate petitions 18 and up. You have to be a registered Royal Oak voter to sign a petition, and there are certain restrictions on how many petitions you can sign. For mayor, you can sign 1. For the 4-year city commissioner term, you can sign 3, and for the 2-year city commissioner term, you can sign 1. So just make sure that you are aware of that as you sign. If you do accidentally sign more petitions than those requirements, your most recent petition is the earliest signature, is what's honored. And then the others are rejected. So hopefully that clarifies that. Any other questions, comments? Anything at all about the upcoming election? Obviously, we're gonna, be doing this for months now, yeah, we're excited to get another election season.
Hey, Lauren, this is Mike again, the mayor. I just want to offer up just a few comments here. One, I'm running again, obviously, and certainly, it's been a privilege and honor, almost a decade here in public service, serving the city of Royal Oak, coming out of the Great Recession. Managing some of the progressive things that we've done over the years, all the way through now trying to help be part of the solution for what we've seen with COVID, and doing our best as a commission and as a team to keep the people safe here that we love and hold close to our hearts, our neighbors, our family, our friends. But I really want to give great thanks to all the people, especially the people in our club that, take the initiative to go out and help with the campaigns, because candidates just can't do it alone. We're really a reflection of a bigger community that's behind us. And, regardless of who you're supporting, it's just, I can tell you just as a resident to have people step up and collect signatures and volunteer and really take a sense of ownership in the future of our city. To me, that inspires me, and I know it inspires my colleagues. And I just want to say, a heck of a lot of thanks. We're often working a lot of topics, in a volunteer capacity. And again, just having people step up and support. Many hands make a huge difference. And we've seen that over the last 10 years. I mean, look at all that we've accomplished together. And that's not just because of, the people that are in office. It's because of the people that work hard to get our shared vision on a platform and at a podium where we can make meaningful change. So thank you to everybody. It may seem like a not a big task to go out and get signatures, but in the broad perspective of things, every brick in this building that we're building here matters. And just a great thanks to everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. We're lucky for your guidance. Any other thoughts, questions, comments about the upcoming race? And like I said, continue to look for our emails with updates about those. All of this contact information, volunteer opportunities, and those locations for petition signing will come out in emails and we'll post across social media. So this isn't your only opportunity to grab them. We are also hoping to host some kind of an in-person signing event, maybe at a park or something in the next few weeks as the weather turns. So look for more information about that as well, so that we can hopefully do maybe like a drive-through signing or something to replicate an actual meeting of being able to get together. That being said, I do want to be cognizant of everybody's time. I will try and wrap up our announcements in 2 more minutes. So we have a couple important and exciting events coming up that I just want to make sure are on your radar and we can get on our calendar. Like Ellen told us earlier today, we're really looking forward to that meeting with Abdul El Sayed, our virtual book signing. That is going to be Saturday, April 10th at 11 a.m. We also have an upcoming bar night on Thursday, March 18th. That is going to be our monthly third Thursday bar night hosted by Paul Curtis. And it's just a chance for us to meet a little bit more informally, have a chance to visit, catch up, and kind of see what's going on with everybody. So that is going to be Thursday, March 18th. You can join, it's over Zoom. The information is all in the Facebook event as well. Just another little shout out for Ian Denkinson's Mitten Politics podcast. He's doing an awesome job sharing really great information with us on a regular basis. Those episodes come out every other Monday. I'm sure he'll share the information about how to listen in the chat. Ian, what's your most recent episode?
So my last episode, oh my gosh, they blur together because you do the recording. My last episode was about privilege and equity, and I talked with Lakeisha Morrison about it. So that was a really fun episode to record. Definitely not the last time I'll talk about that topic. And then I also just recorded with Tim Chikorsky, about unions. So that's the episode that'll be coming out this coming Monday. And then got a couple other things in the works in terms of additional topics. If there are specific topics that people want to hear about, I also have an email that I'll drop in the chat as well, that if like you would like to do an episode with me, or if there's a topic you would like to do, like me to cover, I'm happy to take that into consideration as well.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that. They're so fun to listen to. I also just put the link in the chat for that Oakland County phone bank that I had mentioned earlier. If you've got any questions at all, I can connect you with Mona DeQuee. But again, that's not at a set time, just any chance that you have an hour or so to sit and make a few phone calls. You can use that open phone bank link and then spend some time making calls, touching base with Oakland County voters to make sure that their voter registration information is updated. The last announcement that I have for everyone is for our April meeting, just a little bit of preview about what's coming up next month. We'll be meeting again on Zoom on Saturday, April 3rd. Our guest speaker is going to be Kathleen Duffy. Kathleen Duffy is the current city planning consultant. She is joining us from an organization called Smith Group, but she is advising our city commission on some ways to work on our master plan and improve things throughout the community. So we're going to hear a little bit about city planning and her help with the city's vision.
Lauren, I want to say, she's not working with the city. She is a planning consultant who happens to live in Royal Oak and is an expert at master planning and especially community engagement.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was my misunderstanding. Okay, so yeah, all right. So she is a Royal Oak Royal Oak resident and planning consultant, not the Royal Oak consultant. Gotcha. Good. Good. So we will be sharing more information about that April meeting, so you can come and hear about our master plan as well. And Shar will be, I think, supporting that conversation, right? Yeah, good. Any last minute questions, announcements? Tom, you want to talk about our garden?
Yeah, there's an ad hoc committee. We're pushing
Yeah.
to get a Royal Oak Community Garden. I just put a link in the chat. We're going to meet today at 2 p.m. on Main Street, just north of 10 Mile, and visit some suggested sites. That link I put in the chat is a map of all the sites we'll visit.
Great, thanks for that. Do you want to share the contact information about is Facebook the best way to be in touch? Yeah, good. So we'll share the link there. If you are interested in joining the Royal Oak Community Garden efforts, we'll put you in contact with Tom and that group. Any other announcements or events coming up for the greater good that people might be interested in? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Lisa, I see your hand. Any seconds? Okay, great, thanks. All in favor? Good, I see lots of hands raised. I know everybody's on mute, that's okay. Good. Any opposed? Anybody want to stay on longer? No, I didn't think so. Cool, so we are adjourned for the month of March. We'll see everybody soon. Enjoy this sunny day. See ya.